and welcome to Onesies, a podcast of one season wonders and blunders. My name is Andrew.
And my name is Emily.
And we are still working our way through Police Squad in color after a break last week. Thanks to
welcome.
cats.
Welcome back.
Cats and COVID. What are you going to do?
Welcome back to Police Squad, everybody.
Yes. So we're on episode 5, which is entitled Rendezvous at Big Gulch or Tear in the Neighborhood.
Yes.
What are your 3 things?
You know, I really laughed at this episode a lot, and there were a lot of good gags. So I'm going to go with Mommy Dearest, Daycare. I'm going to go with Eiffel Tower and Driving Backwards.
Okay.
But I still have a lot to say about Norberg, too.
Yes, I'm going to say.
Okay.
I mean, Norberg is his own thing. Okay, I'm going to do slideshow history lesson. That was good. Let's see here. The phone call bit and kids ballet / first act stumbles.
Okay.
Okay.
So we start off this episode, I believe, with a couple of thugs going door to door. Oh, wait.
Who's our guest star?
Oh, our guest star is Florence Henderson. She's so cute.
She gets shot up in the kitchen.
She gets shot up in the kitchen. It's funny. She does a good death. And I loved, she gets shot and you see bullets in her chest. And then she falls to the ground. And then all of a sudden there's like a leg that just sticks up over the counter. I thought that was so funny. I hope that was her choice.
Yeah, it was a very nice death cameo. I think that I guess some of it is that I don't know George Stanford Brown enough to think that's really funny, but the ones you're familiar with are really funny.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, but then we start with 2 thugs.
They're going door to door to businesses to shake them down for protection racket, right? So this is a mob adjacent theme. They never actually say mob. They say organization maybe, but they never actually say it's the mob. But it's 2 Italian-American gentlemen.
Well, it's not though, because John Ashton's a white guy.
Yeah, that's true. Well,
so how do you not know who John Ashton is? Have you never seen Beverly Hills Cop? I guess we know what you're doing with the rest of your day. You have to watch Beverly Hills Cop 1. It's an assignment for your life.
Okay.
It is. I don't know. You're from Michigan.
Yeah.
What do you guys have besides RoboCop and Axel Foley?
I've never seen RoboCop either.
I'm going to make you watch RoboCop the series. That's only one season. Oh, God. Canadian RoboCop. Fuck yeah. With a Canadian soap star from 1994. Imagine how good it is.
So anyway, protection racket. They're going door to door, extorting money. There's some funny sight gags where it's like a restaurant and there's some guy standing out front with a chicken that may or may not be dead.
Yeah.
And then they go to a pet store and the pet store owner has birds, but then he's holding on to a dead animal too as well, which was kind of goofy. But the best one was the Mommy Dearest Daycare Center, where there was someone dressed up like Joan Crawford, and really, really bad, but very reminiscent of Joan Crawford, giving them money. And then they approach a dance studio and there are, 5 or 6 cute little ballerina girls, and their ballet teacher is teaching them, and she doesn't have the money to pay them.
Business hasn't been good lately in the inner city dance studio.
With all white kids.
With all white. I mean, it's the inner city of the backlot. It's not that bad.
Right. Right.
Yes. So they then beat up the dance teacher, and when they smack her, the kids do a move or something similar in unison.
The scene had started with them just kind of following her lead in general. She was doing ballet positions and they would follow her. And then she ushers them back towards the mirror where they are supposed to just carry on without her. But instead they are miming the moves as she's getting the shit kicked out of her by some thugs, which I kind of went,
yeah, I'm like, oh, 1982, but no, it's just like, no.
poor taste.
It's poor taste. It's there's another problematic joke in this one, though it's a repeat joke. But yeah, so then we go to Frank. And so at this point, I was like, is this episode gonna be okay? And Frank's intro does not reassure me. He's doing emergency vehicle crashing. And so he puts on his helmet while he's driving, and then he crashes, but it's footage of actual like car crash test dummies.
Yeah. It wasn't great. I thought it was just a quick throwaway, kind of silly.
Yeah, I mean, this whole first scene, just sort of the whole setup, kind of until Norberg's back, is awkward because then we get to the police station where Frank and Ed have a bit where they're passing a report back and forth.
As they're speaking, it's almost like a talking stick, but it seems like a battle, like a sword fight, like dudes having a sword fight. As they're taking their line, they take the piece of paper from one another and look at it over and over and over. I thought it was kind of funny, but completely silly and irrelevant.
Yeah,
because they weren't using the report to answer the questions.
Yeah, so but then somebody takes it away, and Frank goes over to question the ballet teacher, but he mistakenly goes to talk to somebody in Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Oh, is that who that was supposed to be?
I don't know, but it's kind of what
it was like a movie mask. Like. It was like a horror movie mask.
And then Ed's like, no, she doesn't look that bad. And then we go over and she's just got like a Popeye black eye.
Yeah, grease paint underneath her eye.
Yeah. And they do the cigarette bit. And then it turns into him offering her a bunch of beverage choices and breakfast pastries, and she doesn't want any. And then as he's trying to convince her to testify, he's sort of describing things grossly, but not, but everybody's yelling at him that they're trying to eat. And it's just kind of like, but you're not really grossing people out, because like
you work in a police station and this is the type of thing you see and hear all the time.
And it wasn't like it's like some guy's like, I'm having a tuna fish sandwich. It's not like Frank was talking about we're gonna stamp out crime like it's fish mucus between, in a cannery or something. It was unrelated, and it was like a little exaggerated. And then he goes over and tells a uniformed cop to put a tail on her.
Oh, that was so funny.
Tail out. Oh, you are easy in the morning. Good God. Okay, I did like the next bit when he goes over to talk to Ed to look at the map.
Yeah.
And they're like, I think all the incidents are happening in this one area. And we cut to the map and all the pins are there. Because we're back to the joke.
Yeah.
That they're fucking dumb.
Yeah. Yeah. They're like, it's happening all over the city, but there seems to be a high percentage of them happening here. And it shows the map, and there's just an unbelievable amount of pins stuck in the map, like a mound of them sticking out of the map in this one small area. I thought that was funny. But you missed the one thing that I actually laughed at that my husband saw, and he was like, I was about to leave, where he touches her on the leg and it turns into like he's a doctor and she has a reflex and she uncrosses her legs, not in a
I must have missed
display way.
Oh
but
my God.
It was so funny. It was the first thing that I kind of like
But then they do the let's say bit again.
They did the let's say bit again, yeah.
And I was like, are we doing the same bits again? Like already? We are, because we already did cigarettes.
I don't know if you noticed this, because we had talked about it in maybe the first episode, where in the background outside the police office, the Eiffel Tower.
Okay. So
That's my Eiffel
where that
Tower.
was. Okay.
I thought that was really funny. And it took me a minute. Like, I didn't catch it right away. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was one of their better we expected that to be a recurring bit, and they really haven't used it that much.
Yeah.
So
And
that's nice.
I mean, it's such an easy thing that they could do, though. Maybe that's
Yeah.
why it's nice that they didn't do it over and over.
Right. Yeah, they didn't do it 7 times an episode. Okay, so then we get Al talking about how he hurt his face because he walked into a sprinkler.
That was funny.
And then Ed does the thing where he like looks toward the bottom of the frame and is just espousing something, but he's actually giving a order to a officer who is a little person, Waka Waka, which is the second time they've used this joke. So I was like, oh, we're in trouble. They're just going to keep using the same jokes, but then they don't. So out of nowhere, or not really, but this Peter Lupus guy is this show's fucking hero. Norberg is show's hero. It's incredible. So the idea is that Frank is going to open a business and get shaken down, and then that's how they're going to stop the bad guys, and Norberg's going to help him.
Yeah.
So cut to an abandoned locksmith shop, which is named AN Abandoned Locksmith Shop. And Frank's trying to pick the lock, and he can't get in, so they have to break into the locksmith shop. It's pretty funny.
I thought it was funny.
Norberg's hilarious as he like stands there. Is he oblivious? Is he not oblivious? We don't know.
He's so good. He doesn't have to do anything, and he's just good.
He just moves his hand on his pants, and he's good. Yeah, it's incredible.
He's so good. And then did we cut immediately to them starting to make keys and stuff?
We cut immediately to them making keys.
So there's a goofy bit where Norberg is cutting a key, and there's massive amount of sparks that you would probably not see in that situation. And the gentleman waiting for his key is getting set on fire by all the sparks.
His shirt is burning from that.
His shirt is burning. Not in a dangerous way necessarily, just in a goofy way, like it's getting burned through with a iron that's too hot, right? And again, he's hilarious. The running gag that they do when he's like, "Oh, I'll smooth this out for you," and the key ends up going and getting stuck in the ceiling, and then they shoot up, and there's 100 keys stuck in the ceiling. I thought that was so funny and dumb. And then the payoff to that bit is somebody comes in and slams the door, and all the keys fall.
But not all the keys.
Not all the keys.
Because it's going to happen throughout, and it's great. It's just this weird, like, you're like, how is this working? And it's just working.
It just does.
They don't notice it when it falls. There's no acknowledgement.
I think there's even a scene, maybe it's the first time, where they fall on Norberg.
They fall on Norberg.
It's like you can see the actor sort of like, oh my God, this isn't going to hurt me, is it? Like,
he's
kind of bracing himself for it.
Yep.
Oh, so funny.
So good. So but then the other bit is the keys hanging behind the desk.
I took pictures of that. I was going to share it with my husband.
They have the names of the kind of key it is, but they only do that like straight twice, and then the rest of them are all gags. So there's Florida keys, honkies, which is where all the keys come from. But then there's a turkey and a hanging turkey, and then Frank moves his head at some point, and right next to it is a pot roast, which I thought was like a great exclamation point to the gag.
Yeah.
So Frank helps somebody with that while Norberg's fucking around with the machine, and then the two toughs come in to shake them down.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a bit where somebody says key store, and Frank thinks they say keister. This is a good Leslie Nielsen episode too.
It really is. I was going to say, like, we can't give Norberg all the credit, because he does a lot of his running gags are like physical comedy where he's not really doing a lot. So later on, I'll talk about it a little bit more. But yes, no, the keister thing, that just makes me laugh anyway, because I'm Midwestern. So when I hear somebody say keister, it just makes me giggle because it's such a silly word.
But then they're not going to pay him, so the bad guys leave. And this is where Norberg starts telling Frank his business ideas, which will be a slightly recurring bit. And it's always just like, what the this is so good.
It's funny because he's like, oh, well, I guess I'm a locksmith now.
Yep.
Like,
he's just totally undercover.
So he's the undercover guy, right? And it's like, oh, well, let's talk about how we could improve this business.
Yeah.
Like, he's just totally in. He's selling it. He's totally in. I loved it. I thought it was so funny.
And then the shop gets shot up, but neither of them notice it. But you can see the actors reacting to the squibs or whatever. And then after the place is shot up, somebody throws a rock through the window, which they take notice to. Then they do look out and get down for the rock, and they bring it up, and there's no acknowledgement of the shooting, which would make sense given the opening credits where everybody gets shot at all the time, but we've never referenced it inside the show like this before.
And I think it's important that the rock is the only thing that's being used as evidence. They're not pulling bullets out to see what caliber, to see what kind of gun it came from. They're not doing that. It's just the rock that goes to evidence.
Yep. So Frank now goes back to the lab, and this is where you have the driving backwards sequence.
Oh, which I thought was so fucking stupid, because the voiceover is him going, oh, well, I've got to go back to the station, and he's in his car, with the green screen behind him, arm on the passenger side, looking behind him. Sorry, I had to mime it. Looking behind him as he's driving backwards. It was, I think, a clever twist on what we normally see for these types of car shots. I thought it was funny and clever. And just like the epilogue sequences, the freeze frame sequences, kind of, it's just one-upping. You just have to take it a step further, and I think they did that pretty successfully with that. Short scene made me laugh.
But then we get back to the lab where Mr. Olson and Billy are talking about soft round somethings. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, what are they gonna, because we've been waiting for one of these to be out of order at least, and we don't know where this fits. We'll talk about that during the epilogue. But Mr. Olson does then ask Billy to bring the magazines he found under his father's bed. So we are dirtier than we were the last couple times.
Yes.
So Frank now wants a complete rundown on this rock. And so we get this idiotic thing where he's like, there are no fingerprints on it. It's clean rock. Look at the simplicity of the design, Frank. And Frank's like, but where did it come from? And this is where we get my slideshow. And I was like, I think I remember this from being a kid, because I'm like, this is, or they do it in a Naked Gun too. But they go to the lights at the door and he turns it off, and a slideshow film strip starts explaining where rock came from at the molten core of the earth billions of years ago. And it ends with what we scientists call rock. And it was just like fucking perfect.
It was so silly. I loved it.
So good.
Yeah.
And then the next scene is the oxsmith shop. And there's a cowboy with an ox out front.
Yeah.
And the funny part is that, like, when you do the cut, so you've got oxsmith, but you also have OCK, so you have rock with the first letter out. So I was like, was that? Yeah,
I didn't know that. So for people who didn't view the episode, when they threw the rock through the glass window, it only took out the L, and everything else is perfectly in place. So it says oxsmith shop instead of locksmith. And so Frank dismisses the cowboy and his ox and says, no, it's a locksmith shop, not an oxsmith shop. And it literally took till that moment for me to realize what the joke was.
I took that. Yeah. I was like, oh, okay. It's like, why the fuck is there a cowboy waiting out front of the shop? What the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
What did Norberg do?
Yeah.
So Frank goes in, Norberg's doing work. Business is booming. The keys fall. And then Norberg leaves to deliver some deadbolts.
Because he's, again, just 100% in this. Like, we're running a locksmith shop now.
We're working here, Frank.
Yeah.
Bad guys come back in. We get a nice repeat because Frank's like, how do you explain this rock? And the one guy, Robert Costanzo, who's on, I think, Seinfeld at least once, is like, well, billions of years ago, starting the bit that the slideshow did.
Then Frank cuts him off. Yeah.
Cuts him off. And he's like, you owe me $100 through the window. Cough it up. And so he coughs up a bill, magic trick style. But it's only a 20. And then apparently John Ashton's going to beat the other $80 into Frank. And so we cut to the door where Robert Costanzo comes over and he turns the sign and it says, back in 5, owner being beaten. And then we hear the punch out.
And then there's an extended gag of things coming out of the door. So the door blasts open and chickens come out first. A cowboy gets thrown out as if he's getting thrown out of a saloon. Different cowboy. Pots and pans, that's right.
It was a different cowboy. I noticed that too. And I was like, well.
And then the 2 bad guys.
Yep, because Frank kicks ass.
And it's this great thing that they do with Leslie Nielsen. And I realize that this is part of the appeal of Leslie Nielsen to me, is that he is, I don't want to say he's smart, but he sounds smart. And the character. And but you never really see him get violent. And then he like comes back, like afterwards, he comes out and he's sort of like cracking his knuckles or doing something with his hand as if like, ooh, that hurt, but he's not cut up, not bruised, not damaged in any way. They could not get a punch in because he's so tough, but you never actually get to see him be tough. I think I don't know why I love that so much.
It's a great bit. Yeah. So then we cut to the other people in the neighborhood cheering because Frank stood up to the mob. But then we cut to Mr. Big with his kitty cat.
Oh, I love
this adorable little kitty cat. And
my husband was quick to remind me that cat's dead now, by the way. This is my life.
You should tell him it was also a bit from Blofeld and James Bond, and that cat's also dead.
But it's this funny thing where, guys, I have this written down, where it's like the bad guy whose face you never see.
Right.
Just in the first scene, and he's just kind of petting his beautiful cat. She was so beautiful. All cats are female to me. But then throughout the scene, or at the end of this scene, he kind of leans down to get his head in frame to kind of make a point. I thought that was kind of funny.
It was funny because, usually that's because Mr. Big either is disfigured or a special guest star or a cat or somebody already in the cast. Like it's a reveal. So there's not enough time in that for Police Squad. But the guy who peeks into the frame is Al Ruscio, who was in Godfather Part 3, but not Godfathers Part 1 and 2. He's a character actor. He's fine. And then we cut to Act 2, commercial break. Act 2, gazoon tight.
I thought that was, it took me a second. I had to say it. And I was like, this is great. I just say it out loud. And my husband's like, what are you talking about?
Act 2.
It was so stupid.
And this isn't where we get Frank crashing yet. But we get back to the shop where Norberg is trying to upsell somebody on the phone.
Yeah.
Locksmith shop. And a classy dame / slutty dame comes in and tells Frank she wants 50 keys made. 49 are for the Chicago Bears, and 1 is for him for when he delivers it to her apartment today at 3.
This is where I feel like we get a lot of Leslie Nielsen.
Yes.
Because he's not speaking a lot, but he's making a lot of silly faces.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't tell if he was trying to keep a straight face, like trying to be straight about it and not clue into the fact that she's trying to seduce him, or if he knew exactly what she was trying to do and it was no selling it. I couldn't tell which it was.
I can't either. Yeah. I thought we'd get some insight into where his reaction in the last shot, but there's not. It's
Yeah,
just like,
no.
yeah.
But the Chicago Bears thing, though, kind of makes it seem like this is in Chicago.
Yeah. And once again,
Once again, yeah,
there've been at least one other thing
the Milwaukee thing.
yeah, the next state.
Yeah.
So then we cut to Frank in a hallway explaining that it's taken him 2 weeks to find the apartment because she didn't give him her address.
Which was hilarious. I mean, I saw it coming and I still laughed.
So she hears him in the hallway, and then she has got a cute little dog, and then she shoots at the door. The door has a paper target on it, like from a shooting range. And after we get the reaction shot of her shooting, we cut back to the door where now the paper target is holding its chest where it's been shot, which also might have shown up again in the Naked Gun.
I think it did. Like, I haven't seen Naked Gun in a long time, but I'm like, that is a familiar bit.
That's like something, right? Yeah. Or maybe Loaded Weapon did it. Like somebody did it at some point of the spoof movies. But she did not shoot Frank dead. He comes in and grabs her, and pretty quick, oh yeah, the phone call.
Yeah, the phone
Mr.
call.
Big has chosen this exact time to call and make sure that she's killed.
Oh, yeah. Which is funny because he was supposed to show up 2 weeks ago at 3 o'clock. Yeah.
So, right. So the guy's been calling. And I expected it to be that he was in like a second room in the same place because like he heard the noise. But no, it's not even that much of a thing. And
there's this funny back and forth that they have where he's got his hand, Frank has his hand over the receiver and is talking to the woman whose name is Stella and telling her what to say. So then he removes his hand and then she repeats exactly what he says. It's not, I thought it could be funnier, but it does get funny when, the guy is questioning whether or not she actually loves him. Mr. Big is questioning whether or not she actually loves him. And Frank again goes on this like one-man show thing where he's talking about how, the last time you held me in your arms and kissed me, I never felt more like a woman and blah, blah, blah. And it's like this, I mean, it's not long, like this 45-second speech, but the woman, Stella, kind of like cricks her neck around to look at him and is like, what are you going on about? Like, it was really weird. It was really funny. I really enjoyed that. But of course, at no time does Mr. Big realize that he is there. And he takes her to the police station and books her for attempted murder.
And exits Stella.
Yeah.
And then we get a sound crash. Frank drives somewhere and crashes into the garbage cans, but they didn't set him up for this episode. It's just a sound.
They did. Because the car he's driving is parked across the street from where he's getting his shoes shined, and you can see the fallen garbage cans.
Awesome. See, that's why there are two of us, everyone.
Because I was looking forward to the garbage cans crashing, and when they didn't, I was looking for it.
I was just trying to see if we were going to have a decent shoe shine bit, because I'm not a fan of these bits.
Oh, see, I don't mind them. I think it's funny.
I think they, no pun, shoehorn them in sometimes.
Oh, okay. I thought it was fine. It seems to make more sense for him to be giving like word on the street sort of advice to a police officer than it would be for him to have very detailed knowledge of what kind of fire is happening down the street, what kind of chemicals exist in the building and how to
That's the joke.
That. I know, but I think that's funny, but I can see how the bit works, right? Like,
yeah, I can see how the bit works. I think some of my issue is that I just don't think that the shoe shine guy is, I guess, dynamic enough.
Oh, see, I think he's kind of charming. Yeah. But I think because his face, he kind of looks like a Fred Astaire, and I love Fred Astaire.
I want a better bit with that guy. Like, we've shown that they have inspired casting at times, right? Peter
Yeah.
Lupus was inspired. Leslie Nielsen was inspired, but we already knew that
Yeah. From
from
Airplane.
Airplane. But Peter Lupus was a discovery. I wanted the shoe shine guy to be a discovery. Mr. Olson is arguably a discovery too,
Yeah.
the CSI guy. Like,
Yeah.
so I feel like I want to look forward to these shoe shine things, and I'm just kind of like, I don't look forward to them.
Fair enough.
But yes, it ends with a firefighter coming and asking how to take care of this fire. And
He has very detailed knowledge of
very detailed knowledge. It's pretty funny. And he gave Frank some photo stats because it's 1982 and we still say photo stat. And it's a way he's going to fucking bust Mr. Big through shady financial deals or something.
Yeah.
So, well, because, and they don't really emphasize this enough, even at this point, Mr. Big has put a hit out on Frank, but he's put a hit out on the locksmith,
right,
not on a cop. So they have no idea it's a cop. So Frank goes to see Mr. Big with his kitty and says, I'm not going to pay you. I want in on your racket, and I know these things about you. And Mr. Big puts the cat in one drawer on the left side of the desk, opens up the other side to get out the gun, but in there is a little dog. I think Stella's dog.
Oh, I didn't notice.
I couldn't tell. I wasn't going to rewind to check the dog, but dog people will know. But yeah, there was a dog in there, which was a funny bit.
But you missed my favorite bit that I actually laughed out loud and annoyed somebody in my household. Mm-hmm. When he comes into the office first to meet Mr. Big, and Mr. Big is like, "Who are you? How did you get here?" And he says, "I'm a locksmith." And I'm a locksmith. Oh, God. He's so fucking good. He's so good, Leslie Nielsen.
However, that does break that he couldn't pick that lock when he got there the first time. Just saying.
Well, he's learned it on the job.
Norberg taught him. Norberg's been at seminars for...
they had to close the shop so Norberg could go to a conference.
So... yeah, so Mr. Big is going to give Frank a shot, except not just collecting from somebody. He's got to kill somebody. He's got to kill the tailor. So, was there a chicken in the drawer?
There were some birds that flew out, like doves or something. Again, it was like the magic trick.
There's a lot of wildlife to keep track of in this one. They really... got a lot from Doc Anton's dad or whatever. Do you get that reference?
No.
Guess you didn't watch Tiger King either.
Oh, I did watch Tiger King.
Yeah.
But I thought it was kind of gross.
Those were animal wranglers. Yes, it was gross and incredibly problematic, but Doc Anton, Val Kilmer was a animal wrangler. You know that my dream casting is Michael Keaton is Tiger King. Michelle Pfeiffer is Carol Baskin because it's a Hollywood movie, so they're going to make her glamorous, and Michelle Pfeiffer. And then Val Kilmer, obviously, not since his recent medical problems, as Doc Anton, the fucking creepy love guru. Moving on. There are 2 seasons of Tiger King, folks, so we aren't going to be watching that.
Thank God. Thank God.
But I don't know, though. Like, that is an incredibly problematic documentary, and it showcases all of the problems with the new quote-unquote documentary style, where it's really just fucking lying to the viewer to fuck with them so you can do a reveal in episode 4. So it's like, it does showcase that problem very well. Anyway, cut to the ballet teacher, where Ed is there. And I was just waiting for whatever this joke was going to be.
And I knew exactly what it was going to be. I was hoping it was going to be a little bit different, but I was...
What were you... Okay, we'll get to what it is. But the ballet teacher's like, look, can you please get your guys out of here? It's disrupting my class. And Ed's like hemming and hawing, but then they're like, okay. Norberg comes in to say, we got to go off to the other... tailor, we got to go set up on the tailor so we can help Frank out. And then we cut to three old guys,
In
40
leotards.
plus in bright blue leotards.
Yeah.
Which
That's what I was expecting. I was hoping for like a little kid in a leotard with like a police hat on or a police badge or something indicating that it was a police officer, with like a gruff voice, like, Roger Rabbit style, little tough kid who's actually a cop.
So sadly, my mind went to, I'm glad they didn't do the little guy.
Yes.
So
it was a bunch of like 6 foot tall old men in leotards.
Chubby in leotards.
Yeah.
I was just like, damn, dude, like props. I don't know that I'd do that, and I don't have that belly.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we cut to Frank heading to the tailor shop, and the thugs intercept him and say, we're hitting the dance teacher instead, where we now know the cops have just left.
Yes.
So they head over to take care of the dance teacher, and they push Frank inside, and I'm like, she's going to say, hey, Frank, you're a cop, right? And she's like, hey, Lieutenant Drebin, how's it going?
Yeah.
And he's like, shh, but she doesn't shush, and the bad guys are like, hey, he's a fucking cop.
Yeah.
So we then get this fight scene that I thought was better written than it was staged.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's got some really funny gags in it, but the direction is these really boring, like, medium long shots and just cutting back and forth between them. And I'm like, you can cut back and forth between your shots. It's just got to be a better shot than that. And there have been other things like that, like in the locksmith shop. Whoever directed this episode was not one of the better directors, but it was like one of the better written action scripts. Like, as a proof of concept for a police squad, like, if I feel like if we'd seen this before some of the more lackluster ones, we would again be like, they can pull this off, they can keep it going. Like, yeah, you might have a rough first 3 minutes, but as long as we've got the Leslie Nielsen Norberg 1-2 later on, it works out.
Right.
Just could have been better directed.
Yeah. And the dance teacher turns into just a screaming woman in the background. It's almost funny when she's like, oh, he's got a gun. Oh, he's got a knife. Watch out. He's got herpes. And I loved when the guy started running toward him with his lip out. It was so funny.
It was good, but it was terribly directed.
Yes, yeah.
Just terribly directed.
Good gag, poorly executed.
Yeah. So Frank saves the day, of course, because we've already established Frank can kick these guys' asses. So there's like no, I mean, at one point the fist fight starts because Frank shoots their guns out of their hand with one shot.
Yeah, I love that. And then it's like,
it's awesome.
They put their guns go in opposite directions. It's very beautifully choreographed.
So we then get Frank, like a shot of Frank telling her to call the cops or something. And then we cut back to him and he's bloody and he's got his handkerchief out. And then we cut to her and then we cut back to Frank and his face is clean.
Yes, I loved that. That's the last thing I had on my thing.
And I was like, you needed to emphasize that a little bit more. Like, the timing of it was pretty darn good, all things considered, for this direction.
Yeah.
But it just needed to be a little bit tighter.
Yeah.
But yes, then we cut to the epilogue where I was hoping we would get a list of Stateville prison folk, but we do not.
Mm-mm.
So
again, it makes you wonder about the order.
I am reasonably sure there was a police squad / Naked Gun compendium released at some point in the 90s that would undoubtedly answer this mystery question, but I don't know that I'm gonna hunt down.
What kind of dork would want something like that?
Not me. I'm trying to think. Somebody who was really into, what's his face? Neil from Freaks and Geeks.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I could see that. I mean,
Neil's 100% a fucking incel right now, but like just incredibly problematic incel. But back then, fine. And Bill's married to Christy Turlington or something. Like, that's his like thing is that, or the girl came back. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then Sam is just Sam. Poor Sam.
So yeah, the epilogue, the final
Deep cuts, folks. Deep cuts.
the final sequence when they do the freeze frame is the coffee. Ed is pouring coffee, and despite it being freeze frame, he keeps pouring.
And the cup falls. It was really good. And Leslie Nielsen's just like, what the fuck is going on? Like,
yeah, his eyes are moving around a little bit.
Did they not tell Leslie Nielsen this, or is he acting? Like, because yeah.
And the timing of it was just a smidge off. Like he's mid sentence, and then there's just half a second where between him ending his sentence or being interrupted by the music and the music actually starting. It was just a little bit off. But it was still funny, and I can't wait to see what they do with it again. Again, they one-upped it. You know, I liked the chimp before, but the coffee pouring wasn't bad.
Coffee pouring was good. Yeah, like I said, this is a really solid episode. Like I was nonplussed by the opening, but they really turned it around and kept going with it. Like,
I enjoyed it.
This fucking show.
I know. I don't know what we're gonna do next time.
RoboCop the series.
No, it's my turn to choose.
It is your turn to pick.
I'm not picking that. So episode 6 for next time, and then we might take a break for Thanksgiving, is Testimony of Evil / Dead Men Don't Laugh. And it looks like Leslie Nielsen is at a nightclub in the image that I see. So that's gonna be interesting. Who else is in this episode? William Conrad. Oh shit, I just gave it away.
You just gave away our special guest.
I'm sorry. And I'm not gonna edit it out.
Wow.
Uh-oh. There's somebody. Oh, okay, never mind. I don't know who any of these other people are, so this will be fun.
I mean, is it like Laurence Olivier?
Oh, there's no. Well, yeah, there is Laurence Olivier, kind of. Laurence Olivier, kind of. Dick Clark. He's
Dick Miller. Dick Miller. You don't know who Dick Miller is?
Nope. He's Vic. He's Vic.
You know who Dick Miller is. I refuse to believe this.
I've never heard of some of this stuff. When did he die? Did he die in 2019? Yes. In Toluca Lake. Oh, that's kind of close to here.
You had to wait till he died to move to California.
Clueless, the TV show.
Keep going.
Sister. Batman the Animated Series. Fallen Angels.
I mean, he's in Walter. Sadly, we can't watch that because it was only the pilot.
Who's the Boss? Freddy's Nightmares TV series. I never watched that. Watched the movies. I was too young to watch that, but I watched the movies 4 years before that. Or the first one anyway. Tales from the Dark. I don't know. I have no idea.
Are you not seeing the movies in there? It's the guy from is it not Little Shop? Bucket of Blood and
he's in 1941, which I know you like. I can't see your face. Okay.
So that's going to be next season, folks. We're doing a special season where I am going to
make Emily watch things.
1941. No, not anything good. We're just going to fucking watch the director's cut of 1941, and we're going to pause it anytime we get upset with what we are watching, and we'll see how many episodes we get out of that. I'm guessing about 60.
Oh God.
Fuck that movie. No, it's Dick Miller. He was in
Little Shop of Horrors, but I don't know who.
He's not the main guy in Little Shop. He was in Bucket of Blood.
Oh, this is the old Little Shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's Murray Futterman in Gremlins. He's the pawn shop owner in Terminator 1.
I've never seen Terminator either. I'm not a man.
You don't need to fucking see Terminator.
Okay.
1, fuck that. I mean, 2's a great action movie. 1,
I don't like action movies.
You can watch.
I do like action movies.
Like action movies. What, like?
I like I like action movie people though. I like Charles Bronson. I'll watch any Charles Bronson movie, no matter how racist it is, because I love him. White Buffalo is really good, by the way. Speaking of, I saw it on Plex, so I'll cut that out. I like Charles Bronson because he kicks ass. That's why I like kung fu movies, because they all kick ass. Samurai movies because they all kick ass.
There is some movie that Dick Miller has been in. Arnold kicks ass in The Terminator.
He's a big muscle guy, though.
You want it to be somebody who can't actually kick ass.
I want it to be somebody who you wouldn't suspect could kick your ass. Like Charles Bronson rips off his shirt and all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, he's covered in muscles. Oh my God.
Yeah, but Charles Bronson was famous for being covered in muscles. I feel like if you didn't...
And Arnold's not?
He was also a robot. That's the gag of that is he's a robot. Oh my goodness. Okay. It looks like, yes. So Dick Miller was in Truck Turner starring Isaac Hayes, which you can watch because he kicks ass.
Okay.
So there you go. That's your... He's not high on the list of cast members.
Okay. All right. Well, I suppose that's it.
It's the end of the episode, folks. We were talking about Police Squad about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. I'll cut it all out. Well, thank you for listening. And see you next week. Bye.
Bye.